Got it all fixed. This is... Oh my gosh. I just realized for the VOD viewers, this is going to be the third week. So 2 weeks without any VODs going up for these two. For all, like, 3 of you who watched it. Does anyone leave a comment if you watch the VODs? I'm actually curious how many people actually give a damn about the VODs. This is Season 8, Episode 5. Grannies Gone Wild. Where a bunch of grannies have tons of sex and flash their... Wait, no. I'm thinking of that one video. Never mind. Sorry, wrong thing. This is an episode where they are carried off to Las Pegasus by Rainbow Dash on the behest of Applejack in order to go have fun for the Las Pegasus weekend they do every year. I mean, you know that's probably a thing, Bragwin. Please don't prove me right or wrong. I don't want to know. Okay, you may also notice, for those of you on the VOD, because if you're watching the VOD, you're probably not aware, we're on the old computer with the worse hardware, and I don't have any of my footage or anything. So, we're kind of jury-rigging it a little bit today. Anyway, so let's jump into this. Listen, Primarch, I am always here. Oh, I need to leave the announcement in Discord too. God, this is so disorienting not having my computer. Hang on. We are now covering Season 8, Episode 5, Grannies Gone Wild. Now, I'm going to go and admit something. Let's start with this. I really liked this episode, and it got a nice, big, wholesome grin out of me like 3 times, okay? But I have to admit, I have a bit of a perspective on this. Now, I put this note at the end of my notes, but I'm going to talk about it at the very beginning, because some of you who have known me or heard me talk every time, you know that a lot of my family retires in Vegas. That means, by consequence, whenever I went to visit my grandparents, or my great-grandparents, or my great-great-grandparents, I would go to Vegas. I've been to Vegas since I was like 5. Seeing old women go and have fun on the roll rides or in the courts or in the food or whatever, that's old hat for me. That's so old hat that I actually had to pause and realize that most people probably aren't aware of how incredibly common that is. There's a bit in the episode where Rainbow's like, have you seen 3 old women? The dude's like, that's like half the people here. That is actually true. You go to Vegas, you will see a lot of older people, usually women, who are just hanging out in the casino having fun. Very normal. Like, that is the norm, okay? Now, hell, I talked to my grandma just yesterday while I was playing Bloodborne. That was a trip, by the way. Yeah, that day, one of the things she mentioned is that she was heading out to the slots that evening. Right? It's normal. It's cool. But I realize, and I bring this up now, because obviously that's going to taint my view of the episode. But it also means that the lesson of the episode initially made me go, oh, come on, really? But then I realized that the only reason that I was rolling my eyes at the lesson of the episode was because I learned that lesson when I was 5, as previously indicated. Most people probably don't know about that. And then I started thinking about all of the people who will shove their elderly into homes and into care facilities, which usually suck and are life-sucking, depressing places of terribleness. And I started thinking, oh yeah, most people probably literally don't know that, you know, older people can and do still enjoy their lives. They just shove them in a home and everything's going to hell. And yeah, and the episode itself carries us out because Applejack apparently is one of those people. They're old folks, so we gotta put here and we gotta put them off to the side and put them in. I actually did have a few relatives specifically who did go into homes in the Vegas area. Now, I gotta say it that way because the Vegas area is actually like 6 or 7 cities. You know how it is, right? The Vegas city is actually this tiny little dinky thing. It's like 2 blocks, but you know, the Vegas area. And those were decent homes, but honestly, those are the exception. Most of the homes around there would actually have deals. So you pay, so care homes are actually pretty expensive, but some of the ones in Vegas, by virtue of paying for that, the person you put in there gets like free passes or free tickets or free buffets to whichever casinos they've made deals with in the area. To give you an idea of the variance between that and whatever you're thinking of when you think of old folks' home. It's a bit of a gap. Most other old folks' homes are depressing pits of despair. To be very clear about this, I'm not joking. If you put me in a home, I would shoot myself. One of my great-grandparents was forced into a home, and she did commit suicide to get out of that. So, this is not hyperbole. So the core point of the episode is not only something that is duh to me, but I do think it's a good lesson for people to learn. And I hope to God that people learn it, and they absolutely won't. Because, again, most old folks' homes are cold, horrific, depressing pits of despair, run by people who don't really want to be there and don't really care about the people they're taking care of, and don't offer anything to intellectually or physically stimulate the people in question. And that's the episode in a nutshell, isn't it? Intellectual and physical stimulation for the elderly. Now, that sounds dumb, the way I phrase it. It's such a clinical way to put that. But let me be clear. I am an extremely strong proponent of physical health, mental health. And what's one of the most core, fundamental, as far down as you could go, base requirements? Doing and doing. It could be playing a board game. It could be going and dancing or playing horseshoes or just enjoying the sights or taking a walk, getting some air in, riding on the roller coaster, enjoying some nice food. Physical and mental health is absolutely tied into activity, and it is absolutely something we need to do for our elderly, in my opinion. So it's a good lesson, and I'll give you that episode. I wanted to start with that because it was the only thing I disliked about the whole episode. Until I thought about it for a bit. So let's rewind all the way back to the beginning here. Rainbow apparently hasn't heard of this roller coaster, which made me raise an eyebrow for a moment. And then I realized she's her own roller coaster, so that actually makes a degree of sense. If we're being honest, the only reason she probably got into this was because it was talked up by, her comrades, her fellow Wonderbolts. I do absolutely love the transition between Soren talking up the ride to her talking up the ride. I love the implication that she's been giving this whole speech of how awesome it is to everyone, because she does it in the class, and then she does it to Pinkie Pie, and then she does it to, I think it was Rarity, and then she does it to Applejack at the end, I love the idea that she's just so excited about this idea. She's just running around gushing about it. Oh yeah, the students were there going. So, more and continued... Yeah, exactly, Sean. More and continued praise for the expressions in this show. I would have to actually go at a frame-by-frame level to really, really show off just how good of a job they do with this. But the scene where Rainbow is talking to Applejack is insanely well animated. Obviously, most of the show is well animated, but this was impressive. Just, oh my god. The 3D movements of the head and, the pseudo 3D movements of the head, the animations in the eyes and the little crinkles and little details, just, oh my god, incredible animation. Then, he's like, yes, I'll do this. Yay, cool. We see the four show up, which I believe we haven't seen these four since the Apple family reunion, which was quite a while ago. All of these are recurring characters, of course. Normally I'd give a continuity plus. I guess I will. I'll write it down in my notes to carry forward. So, continuity +1. Yeah, we've seen several of the individuals, but we haven't seen the group together since then. You remember they got together during the thing where Applejack is like, oh my god, it might be the last time we ever have these together. We need to make it extra special, that episode. And then we find out, so they talk about how the ride's getting shut down. Why is this roller coaster getting shut down? Now, they never answer this question. I actually have an answer now, but it was one of the things I noted in my notes is why, because that's kind of relevant, right? Some roller coasters get shut down because of safety hazards or because they're replacing it with something else, but I was just kind of like, we'll come back to that. This then leads to Applejack. Now, Applejack... So she says, the only way this is going to work out is if you follow the rules. I do get why Applejack pushes this point. The problem is she's wrong. Now that's, we'll cover more of the specifics of that later. But the point is, Applejack is not doing this to be a dick, right? This is not a Rule Zero violation. Applejack is doing this because she really wants to make sure Rainbow takes care of her grannies and her cousin or whatever, her family, right? If you were to presume that those old folks were just that fragile and really should be taken care of that much, then what Applejack doing is correct and even right. And this is why I prefaced with that phrase about how old people are not delicate little flowers that need to be thrown into a room and locked up to never be seen again. See the aforementioned discussion about... Because she's wrong, Darth Madoro. See the aforementioned discussion about old people, old folks' home, and everything I just said about that. So, I'm with her. It makes sense. It makes sense what Applejack's doing. And again, it's hard to say what Applejack is doing is wrong, because what she's doing is absolutely right. She's just incorrect. She's operating on wrong information. Remember that point for later. I love the continued animation usage of the wings as hands, by the way. That's awesome. I also love the tiny little detail of the pilot of the thing that goes in the air. Oh my god. Hot air balloon. They walk around the hot air balloon, test the lines, you know? That actually is standard procedure when you start a flight. It's one of the first things on the flight check. Walk around, do a quick visual check, test the tires, right? I just thought that was... There's a lot of nice details. I always like to point those little things out. Anyways. So, why are they bringing all their cats with them? Let's move on. Of course it's the same pilot. Look, you gotta have a job. That actually made me think about something. Forgive me for being a bit of a world builder, but I started thinking about their usage of hot air balloons as transit. This is not the first time we've seen such a thing, and it's always presented as completely normal. It's effectively treated as getting on a taxi or a bus, even though we actually have taxis and buses in the cities. But it's the same level of normality, right? The same level of mundanity, and they never really call attention to it. And I started finding myself thinking about why that was until I really started processing it. This is actually some really cool world building. I don't know how deliberate it is, but in a world where there are people who can walk on and have built cities in clouds, having hot air balloons being a normal aspect of public transit makes sense. Not only is it something that is relatively lower tech than, say, an airplane or a helicopter, which would be a little bit out of place here at the level of technological advancement they're at, but it's something that is really easy to manage when you control the weather. One of the biggest consequences and negatives to a hot air balloon is you're at the mercy of the wind, right? Well, and that got me thinking. I wonder if the Pegasi actually have an air network. Let's call it effectively the grid, or the roads, the air roads, where they create regular streams. And this is always going to be a low pressure front, which is always pushing the air this way. And then it goes up here, and then it comes back around here, and it goes around here. And because of that, they could effectively, they could build preset air routes. Now, this is me just speculating at this point. But when you have control over the weather like they do, and regular... oh, you're right, Ect. I forgot about that. And when you have regular people flying around in air balloons, and when you have people who live on clouds, and other people who want to visit those cloud cities, I feel like that just makes perfect sense, that they would actually have these kind of regular circuits that they go through. Forgive me for gushing about this moment. It was just something that was occurring to me as they were flying on their way. So... this is when we got to the idea that the Oh, hang on, I got a question. I forgot about that. Yes, I do. So one of the things you notice is they never actually walk on the clouds in Las Pegasus. They always walk on the stuff that's built on the clouds. Now, I know how transitive properties works, but that's not how transitive properties works, because they need to explain how the building is successfully standing on the cloud, right? Now, this, to my knowledge, this is never explained, but it would make sense to me in a... So, hang on, let's walk back a step here. The other reason I like the idea of the air route thing for the balloons is because it's part of one of the core points of Equestria, the 3 types unified, right? So, if there would be automatic, normalized cultural bias between unicorns and earth ponies and Pegasi, if they didn't try to constantly make it so that there was a way for the two to interact on both levels. Now, Pegasi can come down just easily, but imagine if they didn't have the ability to go up. Imagine if there were no balloons. Imagine if they didn't have places like Las Pegasus. Imagine if they hadn't come up with some magical way to solidify the clouds to hold matter, so that other ponies could then visit their cities. That's going to create an automatic and normalized, like I said, we're literally above you kind of a mentality. So it perfectly fits within the equestrian theme for the Pegasi, or whoever, to reach out to and figure out a way to allow other ponies to be able to visit them, right? Anyways. So, they get there. Lost Pegasus. Woo! The Grannies just want to have fun. I already kind of talked about that. And this is when we give another continuity plus for the fact that Flim and Flam have taken over the freaking casino area. They don't actually show the ponies themselves, but we see their statue. We see them emblazoned on the door. So, yeah, apparently the scam artists have taken over Lost Pegasus exactly as predicted the last time we were here. Go figure. Having said that, I realized the exact... Oh, yeah, they also had Flim and Flam uniform. Sorry, I should have mentioned that as well. Having said that, the moment I saw that door with them emblazoned on it, I realized why the roller coaster was shutting down. Because Flim and Flam are con artists. What's the best possible way... Oh, yeah, that's a well-known animation error. They actually caught that and were asked about it, and the response to that animation error, Darth Medoro, is, yeah, that's a mistake. That's not done deliberately, and fixing it would be something that Hasbro considers unacceptable in terms of time and money, so we're not going to. Actually, I caught that, and I was like, hold on. Because you know this show, right? They would totally slice them. But anyways, yes, they would totally slide something in like that. This is an artificial scarcity situation. This is FOMO. This is Flim and Flam trying to drum up sales of their popular roller coaster by shutting it down. It's irritating that this kind of thing works, because honestly it shouldn't, but it totally does. So of course they would go for it. And yeah, it worked. You saw how big that line was. What do you want to bet that line isn't that big normally? So, that sucks. Flim and Flam still need to be taken out back and shot. This then leads to... where are we at? Actually, I lost my notes. Sorry, I'm using a different program entirely for my notes, which is taking me to get used to here. Okay, Oh, did you notice the chess meme on the pictures? Shouldn't it only work once? You'd think so. The chess meme. For those of you who know where XKCD many years ago did a joke comic about gluing pieces of chess pieces to a chessboard and then sneaking it on board a roller coaster. You know they take the picture. That became really popular. If you actually go to XKCD's site right now and find that comic, he has shared tons of pictures that other people have sent in of people doing that in real life, and it's kind of caught on as a meme. And I just wanted to comment because they did that too with the ponies at the beginning. I forgot to mention that. Anyway, sorry. So, this then leads to the old women flirting with the young men. I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole. Let's move on. And then they're like, oh yeah, we should take a nice nap. Wink, wink. Yawn. I should absolutely go nap. Uh-huh. Wink, wink. You know, I know Rainbow doesn't exactly have wisdom as her highest stat, but you'd think she'd roll better to discover that, but you know, whatever. So, this then leads to Rainbow going and getting her ticket and finding out that there's a huge line. Now, this is actually the eternal problem with theme parks in general. Believe it or not, this is actually an unsolvable problem. It really is. Any theme park that hits a certain point in popularity effectively hampers its own popularity, its own success, and its own income by virtue of being too popular. So people are less inclined to go because they can only do so many things because every ride line is an hour. Once upon a time, at this point, like 40 years ago, Disney came up with the concept of the Ride Pass to fix this problem. That was a band-aid, because what happened is that everyone took the Ride Pass, and now the Ride Pass line is also an hour. So there's not really a fix to that. The fix, the only proven mathematical fix to this problem, is open another theme park, which is relatively nearby, which has the same exact rides. And you can see why that doesn't really work out all that well. Why people don't do that. So that sucks, and whatever. There are other possible long-term economic solutions I'm not going to bore you with right now. I just wanted to comment on it because it's something I've looked into before. We see Elton John pony in the background. There's also that DDR game is still there. That looks kind of fun. Now is when I start to praise Rainbow as a character. She really wants to go on this ride. But she sees that line, and it's like, I can't do that. I have to watch after the ponies, the old ponies. So rather than just stay in line and wait for the hours it would take to go through that, she immediately gives up on it, goes back to the old ponies to check up on them and make sure they're okay. Yeah, loyalty, right? So this is fully in character for Rainbow, which is nice to see that kind of characterization this late into a show. Then she notices that they're not there. She does her due diligence, checks up on them, notices they're gone, and is like, oh crap, and immediately starts looking for them. I want you to remember that. I'm going to be referencing that in a minute. So this is when they bring up that's the half ponies in this place. They start looking around. They're trying to figure out things. Rainbow, so she finally finds them. They're playing horseshoes. They're having fun. It's cool. And Rainbow's actually getting into it. Yeah, this is great. Have fun. Go. And then Ghost AJ shows up. Now, to be clear, this isn't me being anti-Applejack. What we're seeing is actually a personification of Rainbow's word. God, I don't have any words today. It's been a long day, okay? And I had to discuss 3 legal cases earlier. Anxiety? No. Concern? Worry? No, not conscience. This isn't conscience. This has nothing to do with conscience. This is just her being afraid. Yeah, I think we'll go with worry. Let's go with worried. So this is a personification of her worry about this situation. Like, oh no, hang on, I need to interfere and make this worse. Okay. So we've interfered. They're okay. This then leads to Granny saying, we need to hit the buffet. Oh yeah, by the way, someone asked my favorite of them. I don't know their names. The one who was dancing. So Granny says we should hit the buffet. You remember me mentioning earlier that I've been to Vegas since I was 5? Vegas has a lot of appeal for me, believe it or not. Not because it's hot, which I'm not a fan of. Not because of gambling, which I don't do. Not because of the noise, and not because of the dirty sex. It's because of the food. The food in Vegas is legit. It is some of the best restaurant food I've ever tasted in my entire life. And most of the things that challenge that are individual places that were run by a group or a family, usually a hole in the wall, and some of those have shut down since then. So if you want good food, Vegas is the place to go to. There is so much good food there. Holy crap. So yeah, let's hit the buffet. If you ever have the chance, please do. It's worth noting there are good buffets and bad buffets, but even a bad Vegas buffet is probably better than most other buffets. So, they go to the buffet, they get the food. She has to stop, don't get the carrot soup, get the nachos. She has to stop them from eating the nachos. We're starting to see this get. You notice they're starting to glare at her a little bit. I thought you were the fun one. And then, excuse me, Rainbow says, aren't you exhausted? No, we saved up all year for this weekend. Let me tell you a little anecdote here. Several members of my family are reasonably old at this point. I mean, I'm approaching 40 here. Several of them are on regular pain meds, like they take pain pills as a daily thing, just as part of their normal existence. One of the things my mother and my aunt will do is if they know they're going to Vegas anytime soon, they will take less pain pills and just kind of suffer through it for several weeks in preparation for that. And they will take a nice big long rest before they go so that they can stay up and take the extra pain pills and be fine and have fun while they're there. So yeah, no. Totally happens. And this is the exact moment where I realized that Applejack sucks. Now you can attack me for being mad at Applejack, Midoro. Because I started processing what the episode was doing. This is actually a fairly well-written episode. There's a lot of show, don't tell. There's a lot of things they imply without ever actually shoving down our throat in this episode. Because at every step of the way, there has been the implication that Applejack has been going yearly with these people regularly and has been bamboozled by them. with the nap thing, which they clearly indicate is a con they have pulled before. And I mean, you saw how they lined up the fruit and everything. You could tell this was a normal thing for them. They're practiced at this. Now, Applejack's the cereal's fine, Nasty Bagel. And so they are very practiced at fooling Applejack. And Applejack apparently has never done her due diligence in looking into that. And you're right, actually, Big Mac does it. So Big Mac sucks. Sorry, I actually forgot about that line until you said that. Sorry. Big Mac sucks at his job. Sorry, I actually forgot about that. My bad. Everything I'm saying now applies to Big Mac. So Big Mac has absolutely no idea what he's doing, and apparently does not know how to actually watch these elderly people, and absolutely does not do his due diligence, and absolutely does not actually check up on them, and instead just kind of lets them, oh yeah, no, we're going down for a nap, and then walks away from it, while they go off to actually have fun. So you suck, Big Mac. And not Applejack, apparently. Because I'm an idiot. I mean, yeah, no kidding, Ross. He probably doesn't even like being there. Holy crap. But I mention that because the episode consistently portrays this as being an aggravation they've had to deal with. And at multiple points, their expressions and actually their words indicate they were hopeful this would be a better trip than usual because it was Rainbow chaperoning them, right? And once they finally get the honesty out there, they do have a better time than usual, and they love it, right? So, Big Mac sucks, and Applejack is the worst in the entire universe. All right, now that we got that out of the way. So then they got to this point where they're dancing, right? And they're having this dance on the floor. And the slightly elder, clearly older-looking magicians come over and start flirting with the older women. That actually got a smile out of me. I know this sounds weird, and most people don't like to think about this, and that's totally cool, but old people deserve to flirt and have relationships and have sex, too. For the exact same reasons that they deserve to be able to have a life. So seeing them actually... hang on, Ross. So seeing them flirting and seeing them hanging out, that actually got a grin. It was just wholesome. It was... Rainbow's like, ugh, gross. And that is probably the instinctual reaction to that. That got a wholesome smile out of me. So then they go and they do the magic show. They finally get picked for the magic show. Rainbow freaks out to save them. As a quick aside, I will mention that actually got a smile out of me too, that Rainbow was sufficiently worried about them to try and save them from this thing because she didn't know. And then as of this exact, no, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, Dream Whisperer. That's all sorts of nope. That's all I'm going to say about that. So then they do the magic trick. Rainbow rushes ahead to save them, and they're like, oh my gosh, we wanted to do this, right? Like, we would wanted to part of this. This is when they're finally honest with each other. This is another wholesome scene, by the way. This is grin number 2. Because what happens is they bypass all of the bull crap that television usually does at this moment in the story. There's usually the moment where it all explodes, right? And everything blows up in your face, and they either get judgmental, or they yell at each other, or they're not understanding, or they consist in lying, and usually it just completely flubs this point. Instead, what happens is they're like, this is really unpleasant, Rainbow. You've been really irritating at this point. And Rainbow says, God, I'm so sorry. I've been trying to do the best I can, and Applejack put me up to this. And they're like, oh, Applejack put you up to this. Yep, no, that totally makes sense. By the way, this is why I assumed it was Applejack in my notes that regularly chaperoned them. Because the moment Rainbow mentioned AJ puts them up to this, they're like, oh, yeah, no, that tracks. And they all just kind of roll their eyes at the idea, right? Anyways, so Rainbow's like, listen, I'm sorry. I wanted to do this. You're cool. I apologize for getting in the way of your fun. And of course, now I don't have my fun and everything. And so it's just a nice, wholesome, they're honest with each other and they hash out their issues. And then there's this part where they're like, oh, hey, we can help you out with this. And they go and they have the go to the front of the pass line, which I kind of referenced that earlier. And they go have fun on it, and that's awesome. Now, before we move forward, I want to mention 2 things. First of all is Trixie's dad. Now, the book, or the comic, I forget which, I looked this up, I don't remember which, actually confirmed that is Trixie's father. The Twitter account has has not confirmed, but has implied that he's not sure if he knows he's a father. I'm only mentioning this for the sake of completion. Even the actual tweet in question says it's a matter for debate. So, but yeah, even in the show, he not only does he look quite similar, but he literally pulls the exact same screw-up smoke trick that she is rather known for doing. So, anyways, I only wanted to comment on that briefly. I actually don't have much to say about it. Unless he becomes a character later, in which case we'll have more to say about it. Then they do the I Got a Lesson music, and this is the only final point I have. Like I said, this is the moment where I was like, okay, this is where the episode finally loses me. And it kind of did until I had that whole speech epiphany I told you about at the very beginning of this Streamination. Because this is a lesson people need to learn. Obviously, use your brain. Obviously, there are exceptions. Obviously, it depends. But the automatic assumption that the old do not want to or need to have fun, physically and mentally, no. And this is something that more people need to be aware of and acknowledge. And I hope that in the future, Rainbow continues to go to Las Pegasus with them every year, and I hope they actually have some freaking fun at it. So, that's actually all I got for this one, which means we got to review this. So I'm thinking deep, horrible blue. Any questions on that? Any objections? Yeah, what do you... Again, I am curious of your input as usual, but especially this time because I am biased towards it because Vegas. So what do y'all think? Puke! I don't actually have a puke color, Mr. Red. Although we have yet to give out a black, technically. I'm seeing red. I'm seeing reds, red, red, and also an orange. It is a fun story. The story is well constructed. There's a lot of implication, good implication. It is a fun episode. It's a good character piece. Rainbow's actually pretty awesome the whole time through. I think I agree with red. Now, whoops, that's the wrong button. Hang on. There we go. Now, I want to comment on something. Because GM Barrow, who wrote this episode, has done 4 episodes counting this one so far. She did one back in Season 5, which was the one where Pinkie Pie knows. That's where she knew the secret about the baby. You remember that one? Then she did 2 episodes in Season 7. One was Daring Done, which we actually gave a purple for being just astonishingly, surprisingly good. One moment. Daring Done was the episode... Yeah, no, I'm right. That's the episode where they go to the sand area. Somnambula. There it is. I was looking for that. That's what I was looking at. I was trying to find the name of the damn place. They go to Somnambula. There's the legend. There's the world building. There's the characterization. It's Pinkie and Rainbow and Yearling. It's a really, really good episode. And then this person, I think it's a she, also did Fluttershy Leans In. You remember that one? If you don't, that's the one where she was making her animal sanctuary. That one got a blue. And I only mention that because, and I stand by that, screw that episode. But I mention that because that means this one writer has made a blue, an orange, a red, and a purple. Yeah, that's kind of an all over the place. Honestly, that's a wild one right there. Is that uploaded? Yep, it's uploaded. Yay. Sorry. I'm dealing with all sorts of things. Yeah, no greens, no yellows. Watch. So they're going to be in a few. So the next episode, what do we got next? Next is, let me double check because I'm kind of Surf and or Turf. This is an episode by Brian Hoopfield. Sorry, did I say that right? Is that a new person? I guess I just search. This is a new writer. So, okay, so we've got a new writer. So many people doing just one episode. Good lord. Hang on, let's do this. Let's get rid of this. Clear this up. Brian Hochfeld. Season 8, episode 06, Surf and or Turf. It's going to be about shrimp and boigas. I can't wait for it. I have no idea where we're going. Obviously, it's something about the sea ponies. That's about all I know. So I will see you all, for real this time, in about 25 minutes. Oh god, that sucks, Darth Tyrant. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Can you resume? Because sometimes it lets you. Not always, but... let's see here. I guess I should get my notes here. Oh, tell me in text. I gotta start the thing.